Hi everybody, Neil Malik with Knack Training here, bringing another Everyday Office video. And in today's video, I saw a chart recently about weather, and I was intrigued by the visuals in that chart, and I decided I wanted to see if I could do it live in Excel with real data using nothing more than formatting and charting all the normal tools. So as you can see here, we have the upcoming week, and we have little icons representing whether it's going to be a sunny day or a cloudy day. We have the number stamp for the low temperature. We have the number stamp for the high temperature. And we see that we have this little gauge basically that slides from 55 degrees down here to 69 degrees up here, representing how big that is going to be. So how are we going to make this happen with our data? Well, the first thing we're going to do is start off with some fundamental data. What is the low temperature on any given day going to be? What is the high temperature on any given day going to be? And is it going to be sunny, cloudy, rainy, sunny, etc.? Now, if you want to go a step further and do what I did in the example and actually put the little sun icon or the little cloud icons in there, I did a little search and I was able to find this weather font by Jonathan Macagba on dafont.com. Free font for download right there. And as you can see, it's got sun icons in it, it's got cloud icons in it, it's got little thunderstorm icons, etc. So I downloaded this font, and what I'm doing here in Excel is the following. I'm making myself a little table where over here on the left we have the type of weather, and then we have the icon for that weather. And this is one of those things where you kind of have to teach yourself what these icons are once you download a font that has these icons in it. So my types of weather are sunny, and actually let's just go ahead and copy these. Sunny, partly cloudy, rain, and thunderstorms. And of course you could make as many of these as you wanted. If you wanted snow and all the other ones, feel free to do that. Now over here on the complete tab, you'll notice that right over here I've got this little table, and the sun icon that I chose is represented by the capital letter I. The partly cloudy icon I liked is the lowercase b. The cloudy icon I liked was the lowercase d. The rain icon I liked was G, and the thunderstorm icon I liked was F. But obviously you can make different decisions. It's just a matter of figuring out what letters map to these different icons in this particular font. So over here I know that I want capital I want lowercase b, lowercase d, lowercase g, and lowercase f. And those are the 5 letters, again, going off of this little table here, that represent the icons that I liked. So now what you do is you highlight those cells that have the raw letters in them, and you just go up here to your fonts and you switch it over to the weather font, and there it is. So now there's sun, there's partly, etc. Now I'm going to go a step further and just put that right into a table right over here. So the icon for that weather, we'll do a quick index and match, let's say, = index. This is the array of cells that we can choose from. Lock that down with an absolute reference, comma. We want to match this cell over here that says sunny, comma, within the range of cells that represent the type of weather we could have. Again, the F4 keyboard shortcut allows us to lock that down, comma 0 to find an exact match. So index and match to come up with the letter icon, the letters representing the icons. Go up here, switch the font over to weather, and there it is. We can see that based off of our table that gives us icons based off the weather we choose. Now we have a column here with our icons in it. All right, let's go ahead and center that text, and let's put a border under it. Great. Now here's the part that gets a little bit interesting. In order to create this chart right here, what we're really looking to do is create a stacked bar chart. where the stacks are as follows. We want a stack that sort of gets us off of the baseline over here on the left. Gets us out a little ways, and then at a certain point we need a little area where we can put in the sun. And then a little area where we can put in the low temperature. And up here we need a little area where we can put in a high temperature. And in between, we need a marker that's sort of a rounded off half circle here for the low temperature. We need a rounded off half circle up here for the high temperature, and we need a solid bar in between. So we need to break this out. What we'll do over here is we'll make ourselves a little table. We'll say first what is the day that we're talking about, and we'll just reference all these days right over here. And if you want to take an extra second here, you notice this is a weird formatting. I'm actually going to just say Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So if I go up here to the number group up at the top of the screen, I can click the little pop-out button in the corner, and I can tell it that I want to use just DD, 4 Ds representing Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, etc. Okay, so that's our first part. Our labels down the left-hand side are going to be the days of the week. Now, we need a basic push out from the side, and then we need a marker for the icon, then we need a marker for the temperature, then we need the setup for the weather. So this will be the base right here, this will be the icon, this will be the low temp, this will be the low marker, this will be the distance between the low and the high. This will be the high marker, and this will be the high temp. Okay, so we've got a table that has all those different components in it. We know that the low temperature, the icon, and the high temperature all need to have enough space to write in a number or put in a little sun icon or those sorts of things. So I'm thinking the icon should be, maybe about 3. The low temperature should be about 3. The marker should be about 1. The marker should be about 1, and the high temperature should be about 3. So these are things that we need in our table. We need a little space for the icon to go. We need a little space for the low temperature to go. We need a little space for the high temperature to go. And we need a marker, a little dot where the low temperature is, and a little dot where the high temperature is. Okay, once we've got all those elements in place, now it's time for us to figure out how far it is between the high temperature and the low temperature. That's the distance right here. And what kind of base we need to push it out to where the low temperature starts. So the distance between the high temperature and the low temperature is equal sign, high temperature, minus low temperature. Great, so that's 14 for the first one, 13, 10, etc. So this is how far it is between the low and the high on any given day. When we get to the high, we want a little dot. When we get to the low, we want a little dot. And when we get down past the low, we want the temperature. And when we get past the high, we want the temperature as well. And now all that's left is to push this all out a little ways. But we see here that we've got 3 and 3. So let's say that we take the low temperature and we subtract 6 from it in order to figure out how far out it should go. So equal sign, low temperature minus 6. Okay, so we'll go out to 49 or 45 or 48, etc. That's a lot, right? But by doing this, we build the structure of our ultimate chart. Let's go ahead and tighten this up a little bit so it's easier to see. So once we've got all that, the base that pushes us out close to the low temperature, the icon, the low temperature, the dot, and the distance between those, now we highlight all these values right here, go to Insert up at the top of the screen, and I need a stacked bar chart. You see that right there? So it pushes out until it gets to the low temperature, and then it gives us the distance in the high temperature. However, there are a few things that we need to tweak on this. So first of all, I'll take the chart title out, Go ahead and delete that. I'll take the legend out. Go ahead and delete that. And it goes Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday down the left-hand side here. So I'm going to click on these days of the week on the left-hand side. And I need to flip them over. So I'll go up to the Format tab and click on Format Selection, or I can choose to put the dates into reversed order. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Okay, now you can see up here that the temperature goes from 0 to 55. Well, if all the temperatures are like between 55 or between 50 and 70, let's say, there's really no reason for our chart to start at 0. That seems a little silly. So let's set a minimum over here on the side. Let's say the minimum temperature is something like 30 degrees. And then let's say that the maximum temperature is something like 85 degrees. Okay, so in our actual temperatures, we're going between 50 and 75, let's say. So we're giving it a distance of 30 to 85. That makes sense to me. Now this base, this thing that pushes us out a little ways, we don't really need this. We're going to click on these bars, go over here to the right-hand side and use the paint bucket and say no fill color there. Okay, and maybe I'll take these out as well, and maybe I'll take these out as well. All I'm doing is clicking on the different elements of the chart I don't feel like I need and using the delete key on the keyboard to get rid of them. Okay, we're not doing so bad right now. You can see the basis of how this thing is going to work. Now, as I said, over here on the far left, I think this is where the icon should go. So you can see here I've grabbed this first set of bars over here on the left. It says this is the icon space. That's great. But I don't need the box here. What I need is to go to the Design tab at the top of the screen, go to Add Chart Element, and decide to add some data labels. So I'm going to add some centered data labels right there. And I'm going to do the same thing for this gray bar, which is where the low temperature goes. Go to Add Chart Element, go to Data Labels and say Add a Centered Data Label. And then right down here at the dark blue area, this is the high temperature. Again, Add Chart Element, add some data labels, and say those are some centered data labels. Now each of those says the raw number that's actually in that column, instead of saying what the icon is, or instead of saying what the low temperature is, or the high temperature, or anything like that. So now we click onto the data labels themselves. So we've got 3 data labels, one for the icon, one for the low temperature, one for the high temperature. Click on the icon first, just because, we got to start somewhere. And we go over here to the right-hand panel. Again, if you don't have this right-hand panel, remember you can go to the Format tab and choose Format Selection right there. Okay, so you're formatting the selection. You come over here to the right and you click on your Label Options button, which looks like a chart. You expand out Label Options and you say, okay, the value that goes in here is not the actual value 3, but rather I want these icons right here. So I click the checkbox, Value from Cells, and it says what cells are you talking about, and you highlight the icons that you want to put in there, and you hit OK. Now we don't need the value, so we're going to uncheck the value, but we can see here that it's capital I and D and G and F. It's not the icons yet. This is where we go over to the Home tab and we switch the font to the Weather font. And there it is. You can see the sun, you can see the clouds, etc. And in fact, you can increase the font size a bit to really be able to see that well. Not bad. Now let's go ahead and click on those orange boxes right there. Let's see, are those the data labels? Yes, they are. Let's go to the drop-down menu here. Sometimes it can get to be difficult to be able to select the series right there. So let's go to series icon and select it and tell it that you need no fill. And that's it. And again, I go to these data labels. I say your value is not supposed to be 3. I go over here to the right-hand side, click on the little chart icon, and switch my label options to a value from the cells. And I say, yeah, they're all the low temperatures. And click OK, and uncheck the checkbox for the value. So now it says 55 and 51 and 54 in all those cells. Again, I go to the Format tab, I use the drop-down menu here and say Format the series low temperature, and make sure that you don't see it by having no fill color. And one more time for the labels at the top end. Click on the labels, go over here to the right, say value from cells. The values are all the high temperatures. Just highlight all the high temperatures, click OK, and you know what to do here. Uncheck the checkbox for value and format it so that this blue box isn't there. Go to the Format tab, hit the drop-down menu, format the high temperature so that it has no fill color. All right, so now you can really see it. High temperature is 69, high temperature is 64, high temperature is 74, low temperature 51 but sunny, etc. All that's left is to do the sort of two rounded end look. And in the middle, this is easy enough. I just click on the bar here in the middle and I make this whatever color I want it to be. Let's go just flat black there, really simple. But the bubbles on the ends, this is where it gets a little bit interesting. What you're going to want to do is have an icon that looks like half a circle, right? That's basically it. You want a half circle that rounds out to the left on the left side and rounds out to the right on the right side. You can't use a circle here because it'll be rounded on both ends and it won't look like it fits. So when I go here to just somewhere on my spreadsheet, I go to Insert and I say I want to add a shape. And there's this thing called a chord. That's the best one I could find so far. You could subtract a rectangle from a circle if you were in PowerPoint. There's a few different ways of making this happen, but this chord option that's right here, now I can click and drag, and remember to hold Shift to make it a perfectly round circle like that. And now you want to make sure to get this as good as you possibly can. You see this gold dot right here? You want to drag that down so that the whole thing is perfectly vertically flat. And you see how that gold dot is not lining up the white dot? I'm going to pull it back towards the white dot. Okay, that looks pretty darn good. You might have to do some tweaking on this. Again, if you want to go over to PowerPoint and make a half circle there, you can absolutely do that. But this is just the fastest way while I'm recording. I go to Shape Fill and I say fill it with black. I go to Shape Outline and I say no outline. Now this is, of course, half circle pointed to the left. So I copy this and I use it for these gold elements here on the left, right? So I click on these rectangles here on the left side of the bar and use Control V to paste that rounded half circle onto there. Nice, right? Then you click on your half circle, flip it over like that, copy it, click on your gray bars and paste it. And that, as they say, is that. Based off of this little table right here, you have a perfect little weather chart showing you where the highs and lows are, the distance between the high and low temperature, and an icon representing the weather that day. That only took me 18 minutes to do.